I am. The thought last week led me into a place that I would like to continue with, and that is the subject of rage. I think of all of the feelings I've had in my life, it is the most propellant, and it is the most almost dominating feeling I've had. I spoke of its origins because the origins are very particular and very interesting, especially because of how I have grown up, where I lived when I was a child, who I was, my family. One of the things that happened was that people castigated us because we were a mixed race family. That castigation caused people to curse at us, to throw things at us, to yell at us out of cars, to do all sorts of things that were censorious to illustrate how terrible they thought it was that we existed, that we demonstrated love between races that should be separated, a love between races that one was supposedly more superior than the other, a love between races that should be disparate according to the times. Unfortunately for me, I did not know the politics, the social ramifications of these behaviors. I only took it personally. I took it very personally, and there was nothing that I could do to not take it personally. I was a egotistical child at 2, 3, 4. The only thing that existed was me. I could only think of me. I could only think of that which is around me, that is in connection with me. That was very much the case. Perhaps when my sister was born, I became less of that me, but we all are like that. That is how it works. It is at a time somewhere around 7, 8, and 9, depending on people's prodigious and talent, I guess, maybe some other things, that consciousness comes into full bloom, and one realizes that there is an entire world and one is not the center of it. That is what I would call that is an epiphany, which I will speak of in great detail eventually. At that epiphany moment, not only did I have the dream of wanting to play the violin, but I was very aware that I was a monster in this world. I was definitely a monster, and that I took that on as being a monster. It caused me to stop smiling. It caused me to separate. It caused me to hate where I was and who I was in relation to my family. Of course, I was a problem because I had these strange teeth. Of course I was a problem because my mother smiled so beautifully and I couldn't smile. Of course I was, because whenever I saw and looked into the world, I only saw people smirking and growling and frowning at me. This brought on rage. This created a rage that was unquenchable in me. An unquenchable rage towards myself, not towards the world. I didn't see the world as representing the injustice that I was experiencing. I saw myself as the monster, and I was rageful that I was the monster. I was angry at myself. I was angry that I should be such a monster, that I should take on being a monster, that I should be born into this monster beingness. So that led to behaviors, some of which were extremely dangerous, some of which were extremely problematic. However, what I did have at the same time is that I had the violin, which I dreamt into existence. I say that because it was the dream that caused me to tell my mother that I wanted to play the violin. And thus, it was the violin through which I was able to channel and to express the rage I felt. The violin is one of the, and what is ironic about the violin is its violence. Also, violin, violence. So I brought violence into the world. I brought a type of violence, a type of expression that was connected with that rage. And in that rage was an immense feeling of compassion, too, of sensitivity, of feeling, of identification, of understanding, of recognizing in others monsters that I wanted to pet and I wanted to make feel better. I wanted to save them, to help them, to honor them, and to say it's all right, because nobody really said that to me. My mother was too busy, my father disappeared, and my sisters were younger than I, and who listens to people younger than they are when they are kids? Nobody does. Everybody thinks of themselves being older as the oldest, and thus they have the answers, so they don't listen to the youngers. But my sisters wouldn't say anything to me anyway, so I was separated. I was separated, and a compassion brewing under that rage, a compassion that led me to feel immensely for those who suffered, immensely for those who were under the oppressive, because I was oppressing myself, so I understood those who were oppressed by others. My rage found its expression in the violin. It found my expression into my sports. I was extremely talented up to my size. Of course, I couldn't be a wrestler. Of course, I couldn't be a boxer, but I could be a good tennis player. I could be a good fitness person. Thus, I was able to start fitness at such a young age through my rage. In the rage is the Tao, because on the other end of rage is compassion. Rage against everything in oneself, and compassion for everything and oneself. So I was able to channel it. I was able to channel it into rage for the horrors of the society, the inadequacies of the way things were, to be able to stand up to bullies for a person being bullied, because I recognize the bully as the oppressor. I recognize the bully in myself. And I recognized the person being bullied as myself, who needed that kind of compassion. So the rage led to a high development of compassion too. And that's an irony, as I speak of ironies much, because ironies speak of Tao, and we look at the opposite of what is happening. For in my rage, I was able also to be compassionate. My rage led me to want to destroy things. It could have led me down a path of major destruction, of murder, let us say, yes, let's stay with murder. There was a time in my life when I was so angry and rageful towards South Africa. It was the most oppressive country that I perceived in our world at that time. I wanted and I fantasized about strapping bombs to myself and going into the center of a public square and blowing myself up to kill all those horrible people. I remember having those fantasies. Is that bad karma? That's the question that I will tackle eventually. I don't think so. I think that's the process. I think that's the process of moral understanding. I think that's the process of really recognizing irony. Because I didn't know what irony was then. I was only horrified. Because in doing that, in blowing myself up in the middle of a square and killing tons of people, I would be killing myself, which was the most despicable thing I could do to myself. And the thing that was the most despicable to me was me. So to blow myself up was the major thing that I could do, and I was ready to. And then to blow up people who were so oppressive and so horrible, so prejudiced, so racist. I wanted them dead. I grew up out of those times. But those times etched themselves in my soul. Because by doing that, by having that kind of feeling, then just maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, I said hello to somebody who is such a sweet being, and I was conversational, and we were having a light but lovely conversation, and I said, "So where are you from?" And the person said, "South Africa." And in my head, I went back to that time, and I thought, what a horrible thing I would have done to go kill and possibly kill somebody who was so lovely as this being. In the beings that we dislike, that we have rage towards, there are these beings that we love that are so special and so good. There is no reason to destroy a group of people for the sake of just one horror or a group of horrors. It shows quite clearly the definition of karma. It shows quite clearly what morals are. It shows quite clearly how we as beings are in keeping with the moral nature of society. We have to be careful. We have to understand. We have to be compassionate. We have to look at those around us and recognize the beauty of that in them. We have to recognize the beauty in oneself. That I didn't see at that time. I didn't see that in those people that I wanted to destroy, I was trying to destroy myself the most. And thus, I was incapable of seeing the beauty underneath the rage that I had. This rage is something that I've had for my entire life. I had that rage when I did try to kill myself. When I was in San Diego State University, I had nowhere to turn. I didn't know what I was doing. I was so confused. I was so confused about what I wanted to study. I was so confused about desiring to have a relationship. I was so confused about what I perceived to be my ugliness. I was so confused. And I conspired against myself. I allowed my rage to take me so far as to really actually try to destroy myself. And that is a karmic problem too. Our time comes when it comes. It doesn't come by self-annihilation. And that in itself is a complex subject. But in that extremely beautiful self that I was then, which I didn't see and I reviled, I couldn't get past it. I couldn't get past all of that feeling I had. And then I had the violin. And what a tool and what a savior that violin was for me.